Well, I've got the perfect amount of water in my brush. I might as well do some of these textures that I'm seeing. Got very little water on my brush. Put in a few more of these scrumbly. I can tell I'm warmed up, so I'm actually able to get these. And my head's kind of wrapped around the technique right now, so while I'm on a roll, I'm gonna get more of these scrumbles in while my brain is working and willing to do it. Just lots and lots of dry brushing to get these textures the way they are on the dog. It's get a lot cooler over here on the dog. So I'm gonna get a little bit more ultramarine blue in my mix. Cool it off as I go over here. And there's this triangle of really bright light right in there. I really got a good highlight going. So I'm looking carefully at my reference photo. I'm gonna get some black, very dry and scrumbly, and just dot it in, kind of scrubbing it in. Then he's got a highlight on the top of his ear in here. I definitely want to paint negatively around that and capture it. These little white highlights. Looking for that triangle again, trying not to lose it. It's right there. My burnt sienna is getting too brown. I want it really bright orange. So I'm gonna rely on pure red and yellow because I really want this to glow like it is on the actual picture. Get a little bit more red to add some more glow. Really pop that pretty orange. I'm using this collar as a landmark for where this orange comes, and it comes right down in here. This is all orange from here on up, and yellow actually. So I'm going to put that in so I don't lose it. It's going to be kind of my map for all these kind of complicated structures down in here. This is all very yellow. Can add some more yellow. But I think I need to take a break. That's about as much as I can do. It's at this stage when you can really look at the values in comparison to each other and see if they're balanced. And so now I'm going to get a mix of burnt sienna and Holbein Aureolin for a yellow glaze, because this area needs a bit of a yellow glaze too. I can see it's a lot warmer, and all this warmth is really going to tell the viewer's eye to look in this area, which is a good thing. Then this area has more burnt sienna cooler. Right in here is not white, it's more of a burnt sienna and ultramarine blue color. This area has more yellow in it than what I've got, so I'm gonna punch that up a bit. Get some pure burnt sienna on my brush and just really dry brush in some cream consistency. Look how that really, I want to do that up here actually. I like how that looks. I'm going to get some, I've got a dry brush. It has very little water, and I'm going to just rub it vigorously over my burnt sienna, dry burnt sienna in my palette, and get more. I want to do more of that. And look how pretty that looks. Just some dry brush. Very, very dry. I'm going to dampen my brush just a little because it's so dry. And scrub, scrub, scrub. Now I feel like I've got a lot of water on my brush for dry brush, so I just squeezed out the heel, not the tip. And I'm going to do a few practice runs over here before I put that in. Get more burnt sienna. This is too dry. I want to get a little bit more. I also need to work on this little toe, so let's do that while all this dries. And then I want to put a glaze of yellow over this side of his face. I think it needs that. All right, so I'm gonna just clean out my brush, then just get the tip of my brush wet, and then pick up from my puddle of gray blue, which is burnt sienna and ultramarine blue for the most part. And I'm just going to put in a few little details. Then this has a bit of texture, doesn't it? That needs to be popped out. That looks better. I'm using the side of my brush like a dry brush while it's just got the perfect, it happens to have the perfect consistency paint in it to do this right now, so I'm gonna do it while my brush is perfect amount of consistency. To really pop out some of these lines that he has here. I need more burnt sienna in my palette. Using the side of my paintbrush to really get some of these textures. Just scrubbing my moist brush. Let's see if I can show you guys what I'm doing. You can see by how splayed out my bristles are getting, how dry my brush is. I mean, it's really dry. And I'm kind of scrumbling my paintbrush like this so it's like raggedy because of all these scrumbly spots. And it's, see, now it's almost too dry. My paint is so dry it's not coming off onto the painting, so I'm just gonna add a tiny bit, just like, I just barely dipped a couple of the bristles in this water here, and then I'm scrubbing it around again to really get this scrumbly texture. And see, I feel like when I first started this painting session, I was not warmed up, and now I'm kind of on a roll here. So that's why warming up really helps. And just scrumble some of this texture on. I'm just getting a really rough, raggedy brush. To really tell this dog's story of having all these really cool textures in his fur. Scrumbly, scrumbly. I got this a little too dark. It's more yellow here. But I really think that's okay, because I got the feel of the dog, and we'll see what the owner thinks, but I think she's gonna be, I'm guessing she's gonna be happy. Hope so. Now that looks like a brindle dog. And you know what? He needs more brindling up in here. Now that this is nice and dry, I'm just gonna pat it on like that. This is a good place where that stencil brush would be perfect. I just don't happen to have it available, but if you guys watch my video of 5 brushes, that stencil brush does this kind of work really nicely. Cheap stencil brushes. Who knew? Oh, it's got a lot of modeling on here, so I'm going to tell that story. I like that story of his mottled texture in his fur.